name's Jamie Newton, and I'm the enrollment manager here at Scattergood. I joined the same year as John, so this will be my fourth. This is my fourth year at Scattergood. Thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Elias. I'm a senior here. I've been here for 2 years. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from all over the country, but originally I'm from Hawaii, and then I moved to Illinois when I was 11, and now I'm here.
Yeah, I'm Sonia Sponheim, and I am the Dean of Students, and it's my 5th year. So I organize most things that aren't academics, so the dorms and other community life things.
And I'm Sam Taylor. I'm the academic dean here. This is my 19th year at Scattergood. About 15 of those years were teaching, and I've been administrating for the last 4 or 5 years.
I'm Fifi. I'm a senior. I've been here since I was a freshman, so this is my 4th year. And I'm from Maryland, but I moved to Costa Rica when I was 12, but then I came here, so.
And within this group also, I should point out that Sonia had a student here at Scattergood, and I currently have a student here at Scattergood. So you've got some parents here as well, and joining us online are the parents of another senior here at Scattergood. Nick and Laura, can you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, I'm Nick Burgess. This is my wife, Laura. Hello. Our kid, Evelyn, has been at Scattergood for 4 years and is a senior right now.
Wonderful. So you've got a wide range of experiences with Scattergood here that at the end of our presentation we'll open up for some Q&A and try to get you some good answers. Let me tell you a little bit about Scattergood Friends School before I hand it off to everybody else. Let's take that name and break it down. So Scattergood, we are a part of Iowa Yearly Meeting Conservative, which is a Quaker organization located here in Iowa. We are in the small town of West Branch, which is about 15 minutes from Iowa City. We are on 126 acres of beautiful rolling hills, restored prairies, an organic farm, a pond that we swim in regularly, and all sorts of other places for learning and adventure on our campus. We regularly visit Iowa City and the arts and culture that are there. We'll hear more about that in some of our other presentations. Being here in Iowa, we do get a lot of students from Iowa, but we get students from throughout the country and around the world as well. Being a school, of course, academics are very important to us. We are a college preparatory program in the sense that we aim to prepare students, and we succeed at that, for college and life beyond with the necessary academics that they will require. However, I think what we do a little bit uniquely here at Scattergood is give them some practical life skills as well through our crew program, the work they get to do at the farm, and all the other opportunities we provide for that independent living that takes so many college students by surprise. The Friends in the middle of Scattergood Friends School does refer to our Quaker roots. There are many Friends schools throughout the country. We are a progressive Friends school, meaning we have a student-centered pedagogy for our academics. But the Friends piece is going to be pretty consistent throughout most Friends schools, and here's how it applies here at Scattergood. 3 sort of core principles. First, Quakers believe that there is that of God in every person, and that we are called to seek that of God in every person. In an academic setting, that calls us to look at our students, at our colleagues, at the administrators and the parents, and try to take things and look for the truth in them, the good in them, the value in them. And when you shift your mindset as an educator to that kind of mentality, it opens up all sorts of possibilities for the relationships we can build and what the classroom experience can be like. We also practice silent reflection, which is a key element of Quaker practice. Once a day during weekdays, either for 20 minutes 4 times a week or 45 minutes once a week, we gather and settle into silence. It's a pretty rare opportunity in this day and age to dedicate time in one's day for this practice, let alone in a communal setting. Maybe later we'll have the students talk a little bit about what that experience has been like for them. I'll just say for myself, it is an oasis of silence in a desert of noise that is lots of information without a lot of thinking. And we as a community practice that silent reflection regularly. And then finally, we have a shared set of values that a lot of folks might refer to as the spices, a set of Quaker testimonies that kind of give us lenses through which we can make our decisions and guide our actions as a community. Those values are simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. Now, while Quakers are indeed a faith-based organization, it's a religion, we are not Quaker exclusive here at Scattergood. We welcome all faith denominations or lack thereof, but those values, that seeking that is good in every person, practicing silent reflection, and sharing the spices as a common set of values, those are universal, and those are the components that we look for in students, staff, and community members. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, it's also like not necessarily we believe there's God, that there's
Yeah.
God in every person, but like that there's light in every person, that there's good in every person, and like I don't know, every Quaker is different. So
Yeah.
you know, you don't have to like, you can not believe in God and be a Quaker, or you can like be like a Jewish Quaker too. You know, we have a Jewish Quaker too. You know, like it's not that set in stone. I don't know.
The Quaker aspect of our program guides who we are as a school and how we interact, but it does not dictate who joins us. I think that's a great way of thinking about it. I just want to point out a couple of other things, just some basic factual information I know parents are curious about. We are accredited as a school with the state of Iowa, but we are an independent school, which means we do not follow state curricular guidelines, even though we do hit the same skill achievement progression that public schools would hit. Being an independent school, we are accredited through ISACS, the Independent School Association of Central States, which we just recently were reaccredited with after a lengthy self-study process. So we are overseen both at the state level and in a regional network by our peers, as well as being members of the Friends Council on Education. I think I've talked enough about the big picture of Scattergood. I'd like to pass it now over to my colleagues who are going to give you a more focused view of Scattergood through academics, student life, and the admissions process. And then we'll open it up for questions. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pass it over to Sam Taylor.
Yeah, hi. Thanks everybody. I'm really glad you guys could be here. So I'm going to talk a little bit from maybe a little bit more of a personal perspective. I've, as I said before, been here for 19 years. Before I was here, I grew up in Minnesota. I grew up in a small college town in southern Minnesota. I went to a pretty big high school there, public high school, and it was a pretty like standard experience. I had a great time. It was really great for me. At the time, I kind of figured like, well, if I ever have kids someday, I want them to have this kind of experience too. You know, I've now been at Scattergood for a while, and I have 2 kids now. My oldest son is 6. He's in public school now, and in 5 years he'll kind of have a decision. You know, does he want to come to Scattergood or does he want to continue in the public school system? And for me, I've really changed how I think about it. Like, I really would like him to come to Scattergood, and I thought it'd be valuable for me to just talk a little bit about why. Like, what will he get here that he wouldn't necessarily get at a public school? One thing is that I know he'll be really challenged here at Scattergood. I had some challenging classes in high school and some weren't that challenging, but here I know that his teachers are really gonna know him and know what he's able to do, and they're just gonna, you know, really make him work harder than he thinks he's able to sometimes, and then they're gonna celebrate when he gets through that and he achieves things that he didn't know he could. I know that they're gonna really nurture his curiosity. I feel like a lot of my education started with, here's the things we're going to learn, now I will teach them to you, you have learned them. And here, you know, we have curriculum that we follow, but there's a lot of space in that curriculum to really start with, like, what is every kid excited about? Where's like the passion of the teacher and the passion of the student and the curriculum, where do those join in a place where people are really excited about their learning? There's a couple of types of projects that a student might be able to do, like based on their curiosity. Like in our science class, they might ask, what different types of soil have different chemistries around Scattergood? And then they won't just like look at a book for that. They'll go out and they'll test the soil. They'll figure out, oh wow, like I was expecting right by the pond to be so much more fertile or whatever. They'll like go through a rigorous scientific process and like figure out the answers to their questions. They'll also have the opportunity to write really significant college level papers. One 10-page paper as a junior, one 15 to 20-page paper as a senior. Our seniors in the room are doing that right now. It's a hard thing to do. I taught the class that happened in for about 15 years. I just want to give you guys a quick like range of the types of papers that they write. We don't say you have to write about Jane Austen. It's really like you can come up with a thesis about anything that you're excited about. So as long as you can back it up with good research and you can make your argument. So I'm thinking about one student who was also in a high-level statistics class, and she was looking at hurricane damage. She had a big data set, so she did all these fancy statistics on it, but then she also wrote this 20-page paper about like hurricane damage over the last 75 years and made some like powerful arguments about it based on her like original statistical analysis. I had another student, very different, who wrote about Godzilla movies and looked at 4 different Godzilla movies made at different times in different places and said, what was going on like socio-politically in that time and place that made those people worried about contagion or immigration or that sort of thing. I can't wait for Evan to get a chance to write a paper like that, even though it's hard when you're in the middle of it. I just also want to talk about just the connections he'll make academically at Scattergood. He'll make connections with his classmates. He'll make connections with his teachers. He'll also make connections between disciplines. Problems in the world aren't just like an English problem or a math problem. Like the biggest problems in our world, climate change, peace, are not things that can be solved through one lens. He's going to make those connections between disciplines. And I think maybe most importantly, he's going to make connections between his own values and his ethics and the knowledge he's learning in his classes. We're going to learn things, but also going to learn like how to use those things in the world. So I'm really not worried about his like basic readiness for college. He's going to learn how to use a semicolon. He's going to learn about MLA citations and thesis statements, all of that good stuff. He's going to learn about stoichiometry and scientific method. He's going to learn how to do a derivative or trigonometry. He's going to learn about the fall of Rome or Reconstruction. He's going to learn all of these things, the difference between Sarah and Estar in his Spanish classes. And he'll learn about how to play a zone defense in Ultimate Frisbee. He's going to have like all these things that like I want my child to have, but he's just going to have all this other stuff too. He's going to have a college counselor who really like knows him and cares about him and like is going to help guide him over 2 semesters like to do something awesome after Scattergood. So I'm also not going to pretend that Scattergood, we're a really small school, like has all of the same things that a huge high school has. Like I sang in 3 different choirs in my high school. We don't have 3 different choirs here at Scattergood, but we do have an opportunity to be in like a 5-piece rock band and record at a studio in Iowa City. Or we have an incredible musical theater program. Like maybe he could be the lead in a musical sometime. So I'll wrap it up. I love this place. I could keep talking for a while. I'm kind of making the case for my one kid, like what I envision for him here. And I know every kid is different. So I know some things will speak to you if you're a prospective student on this call or a parent of a child who's on this call. And I'm excited in the Q&A to talk more about what your specific questions are and what you're hoping to get from Scattergood. So thanks for your time. I'll send it over to Sonia.
wonderful to be part of the student community here. Friendships develop here that are very strong and will last like way past your high school years. And we're small, and that means that you will be known, and people will want to know you. You'll be part of the community. So there are some things like in the structures that we have that support that community. Staff are an integral part of the Scattergood community. Most of us live here on campus, and we share our pets and raise our children here. Sam's son Evan is well known as well.
And Alma.
And Alma. Every student has an advisor who is their go-to staff. And the advisor stays in close touch with the 3 students that are in their advisory. And students can talk to them about academic stuff, they can talk about personal stuff, and they can also just like have fun with their advisor and their advisory. The advisory groups eat lunch together every Friday, and they bake each other birthday cakes throughout the year. And they also go on outings. And we can have later in the Q&A, like Elias and Fifi can talk about their experiences with their advisors. Crew is, I think, very distinctive to Scattergood. We do not have custodians, and we do not have janitors. So we do the work of the school ourselves, staff and students. So after lunch every day for 45 minutes, we're the ones that are sweeping the floors and doing the dishes. And that's really cool. It brings a sense of like, this is my place. Like, it belongs to me and I take care of it. And it can also be like fun. Like kitchen cleanup crews usually have somebody's favorite playlist playing and usually a little bit too loud. And there's just a sense of camaraderie and like getting things done together. So I'm going to move on to student leadership. So another structure that supports us is just the way we make decisions together. Every week, staff and students together have a community meeting, and it's clerked, which means it's facilitated by two students that are chosen each semester for that role. And it's a high-profile role. And it's a place, community meeting is a place where you can bring a concern, anybody in the community, you know, whether high or low, can bring a concern. So it's a process of speaking up about your ideas and listening to others' ideas. People will talk about like what's an appropriate dress code, or what's the best schedule we should have, or like how should we manage our dorms and who should get to live in which dorms. Those are all items that have come to community meeting. And one thing that I think develops from that is a frame of mind that we can talk about things and that people can have different opinions. And then we can sit in the tension of those different opinions and like, it's okay, and we can move forward. So, dorm life. Most high schoolers live in the dorm. Right now we just have a few day students. And students get a lot of support in like transitioning to living in a dorm. There are dorm sponsors on from 9:30 p.m. till the morning every night. And students like really use the dorm sponsors for practical things or for like, let's like talk this through kind of things, or also just hanging out, you know, whether it's just, you know, watching a TV show together or, you know, talking about Magic the Gathering. And also there's a lot of support in like being a roommate. Our model is double occupancy because we think it's important to learn to live with other people. And roommates have structured conversations about how to manage their space, like how social, how clean, how late, how loud, all those questions like are addressed. And there are bumps. Inevitably there are bumps, and like that's part of the process. And there's support, and like basically I've witnessed students being really wise companions to each other. The last thing I'm going to talk about is trips. It's a really cool aspect of Scattergood that we have 2 week-long trips throughout the year that everybody goes on, and you can choose a trip. They are like wilderness trips where you could go to backpack in Utah or cross-country ski in northern Minnesota. There are arts trips where you could go to St. Louis or Minneapolis and go to theater and museums. And there are like kind of idiosyncratic trips like playing D&D in a cabin all week long with your peers who adore playing D&D. And there are also socially conscious trips that we have. I co-led a trip to civil rights sites 2 years ago. We went to Memphis and Selma and Birmingham, and it was an amazing trip. And there was actually both Elias and Fifi were on the trip to Washington, D.C. this year where they learned about lobbying. They can talk about more of that. And then
That's awesome.
It was so good. It was really good.
and then there's every other year, I mean, there's a 3-week May trip that's optional, and we rotate between going on wilderness trips, which is this year, which is a canoe trip, and which I think both our students are going on. And then last year it was a trip to Mexico.
Which we were both also.
So anyway, like the community is so strong, and it's a place where you'll be known, and there are like amazing and fun things that like create that structure and support for community. And I'm sure that our students will talk more about that when they get a chance, and I'm excited to talk more about it with you too.
So before we go to Q&A, I want to turn it over to our admissions coordinator, Jamie, who can talk a little bit about the process and next steps and things. Because we know you're all now absolutely convinced that you want to come to Scattergood, so here's what you should do if that's the case.
Yeah, again, thank you all for attending today and taking that first step and getting to know more about us. And we're so glad to have you here on this lovely Saturday morning in March, or at least it's lovely here. It's like 65 and sunshine here, which is awesome. So the enrollment process, you may have looked at our website already and learned a little bit more about the steps, but I just wanted to go over kind of the process for you all to see if you had questions about that. So if you're applying for high school, I think the next step would be for you to have an opportunity. We would love for you to come visit us here on campus. Springtime is a wonderful time to come here. The baby lambs will be born very soon in April, which is pretty awesome. Our campus is greening up. Things are going to be planted soon in the gardens, and we've already had, I think, well, at least from our greenhouse, we've had our first batch of fresh spinach, which is pretty awesome. So spring is a great time to visit. We understand that not all of you would be able to make that journey, especially if you're coming from a long ways away. So another option would be to set up a follow-up conversation with Sam, our academic dean. Just have a conversation where you can learn more, you can ask more questions. Sam can talk more about the school with you. And then the next step would be to fill out an application. You may have already checked out our website under the admissions tab and notice that there's a way for you to access the application. We also would encourage you to apply for, if you're interested in tuition assistance, while simultaneously, like filling out that application and applying for tuition assistance would be great to do at the same time. And do allow yourselves time for the application. And it's fairly extensive because as you've heard, we really want to get to know you as an individual and know more about you. So there's a chance for both parents and students to tell more about you and why you're interested in Scattergood and get to know a little bit more about your background. There's an opportunity to submit some writing samples. And then there's also there's a place for teacher recommendations on there as well. So those are all things that we take into consideration when you apply. We are hoping that for our next round of admissions, that we would love to have folks apply no later than April 15th. That I think would give you an opportunity to have a decision by May 1st. And so like all of those steps would be, those would be the steps to go through to be able to be considered for our May 1st deadline, or April 15th deadline, and learn on May 1st. So that is sort of how that whole process works. We understand that, it sounds quite extensive, or it may seem quite extensive, but we will have another round of admissions decisions after May 1 going into the summer as well. So that's really kind of the process, and we're happy to take more questions about that if you have them when we go into our Q&A. But for our Q&A, this is your chance. We know that you've all submitted, or really several of you have submitted some questions already that we're hoping to address if we haven't already. But it's also a chance for you to ask questions of, the assembled staff here, our students who are here with us today, and also, we have 2 current parents with us. So we're excited to we're excited to hear what questions you all have.
So I think we'll start by addressing the questions that we received ahead of time. And then if people either want to put their questions in the chat or wait, and then we'll have an opportunity for people that just want to ask their questions directly. But why don't we get started here with this first question? I think, Sam, is this one you're going to take? Yeah.
So yeah, this is a question. My child is neurodivergent and currently has a 504 plan. What kind of accommodations do you have for these students? So we definitely have some students here with neurodiversity of various kinds, whether that's dyslexia or ADHD or ASD. There's a few things I can talk about. One is just that like our structure makes it so that a lot of times we'll receive a 504 from another school and we'll look at it and we'll say, yeah, 7 out of 8 of these items on here just happen naturally in our classes. I don't know if you can see, well, this classroom has a table with about 8 chairs at it. So like preferential seating is not like a big deal in our classes. Then we also have a academic support coordinator. Barb, her whole job is working with students to figure out, and to work with students and teachers and parents to like figure out what's going to work for the learning of their child. A lot of times our philosophy about accommodations is that our goal is to meet students where they're at, and then challenge them kind of through scaffolding to like grow in their abilities. Yeah, that's probably good for that question.
Yeah. Sonia, I think this next one we'll send to you.
Yeah, the question is for residential students, what about mental health care and medication management? So for the med questions, though, we have a school nurse who like oversees that all meds are administered and make sure the refills are there. All the meds are kept either in the health office or in the dorm sponsor room and are administered by staff. In terms of other mental health, I'd say many students have therapists that are off campus that they either Zoom with via telehealth or like drive into the Iowa City area. Staff will drive them in. It's like, I would say it's almost normative for students to have like an off-campus therapist. And students utilize those folks really well. We have hired someone that's starting right after spring break as a mental health case manager who will be like coordinating all the mental health supports and working with families to make sure their concerns are like understood and that the supports are there for the students and everything is like communicated with everybody. And it's very likely that we'll have a Master's of Social Work practicum student next year that's on campus 20 hours a week that will provide like drop-in hours and ongoing support for students. And then just in terms of just back to the community piece, like the advisor of your student will like know what's going on for them and be there as a person to talk to.
The other day, my advisor was like, called me, was like, are you free right now? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, come to the West Dorm. Like, we're allowed on the tiles of West Dorm for East Dorm. And he just had cake. And he was like, I made too much cake, and so we just ate cake, and it was awesome.
The next question I think I'll take. What does the average family pay out of pocket for tuition and room and board? So that's a tough question to answer because at a school our size, what does average family actually mean? And we have a pretty comprehensive need-based tuition assistance program. So there are going to be some folks who are paying our stated rates on the website, which I'll reiterate in a minute. And there are some folks who are very heavily subsidized through tuition assistance. So an average price is not going to give you an accurate picture on what you could expect to pay.
And also scholarships.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. In fact, I'll make an announcement that you two don't know about in a second. Yeah, you're gonna like it. You in particular think you're gonna like it.
Okay.
So our rack rates, as they call them for high school, are $19,000 for a day student, $37,000 for boarding, and $42,000 for international. Very few students are paying that rate. We do a need-based, evidence-based tuition assistance program. It's an online application. It's on the website. Jamie referred to it. You're going to go in, answer a bunch of questions, supply some tax documents, and then the algorithm will tell us a couple of different things. Based on that, we will make what I would consider to be a very generous offer, as generous as we can make it. If you are in the state of Iowa, we do participate in the state's Educational Savings Account program. That's unfortunately only for those in the state of Iowa. But even if you're not in the state of Iowa, we do have scholarships. We have a Quaker scholarship, and that is for students who have a background in a Quaker meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they are themselves a Quaker, but that they have an experience with Quaker practice and that a Quaker meeting believes they should attend Scattergood and is willing to endorse them. And we also will be introducing a farm scholarship for students who have a farming background, because we believe those kinds of students do very well here at Scattergood, and we'd like to encourage more of them. Elias, I think you're a great example of that. So that will be available. Those are both $10,000 scholarships. And there will be more on our website in coming days about how to apply for those. So tuition can vary greatly from as high as $39,000 to somewhere around $10,000, depending on what you qualify for and what you receive in scholarship. Who'd like to take the next question?
Oh, yeah, I'll take that one. The question is, our student is currently in 11th grade, and we may want to enroll them as a junior for an additional year of social emotional growth. And what would Scattergood support that? So, just first off, we're not a therapeutic boarding school. So if your child needs a lot of extra supports, so we're not the right fit for that. We're very open campus, has more of a vibe of a small like college than it does of something that's like residential treatment kind of thing. But that being said, it really depends on your child. We really want to know what your child is like, and we're happy to talk with you about that in the admissions process. So it's very much not a one-size-fits-all sort of thing.
I'd like to get some non-staff voices for this next question. So I want to open it up to our students, and then I'm going to ask Nick and Laura if they would also answer this question. But we'll start with our students here. This question is, what are the benefits of a Scattergood education?
Can I go first?
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Well, first, it's just a lot of fun to live with your friends. We have such a tight-knit community, and I think it really I don't know, you learn a lot about people and about getting along with people and living in a community, and you make a lot of really close friends. But then also in education, you're in classes with people who understand you and who care about you and you care about them. So they are motivated to help you, and you are motivated to like actually care about how they think about you, you know. So, and they understand you too, like you. It's just like this understanding that you get from being in this like tight knit community, being in classes with like people who you also live with is just so great because you are so understood and like genuinely like cared for by the staff.
Elias, what do you think?
The community is like the biggest benefit to Scattergood. There's like, it's so close and so tight knit that it, like Vicky was saying, everything's understood about a person almost, and needs can be met. Things can like classes are just so awesome because you don't have to like almost explain yourself. You can just learn. And another thing is like, there's so many different types of things you can do at Scattergood. Like you do all of them. Like you just like do so many different types of little things that it's just like a well-rounded educational thing that like it's a huge benefit because you may just like it's really easy to discover new things on accident at Scattergood that you like.
Yeah.
Just by taking like all the classes or like just taking classes.
Yeah.
And even like the little extra things.
Also, something that is not like not necessarily in every class, but there's always an option of this in a class is like very conversational type classes. So
There's they're like all the classes are very seminar-esque.
yeah, like it's the teachers want to hear what you have to say, and you actually want to say it. Like, you know, no, there's not really like a back of the class at Scattergood, so there's no like hiding and not wanting to like raise your hand or whatever. It's like everyone is like invested and involved and excited about what's happening, and I think that like that is just really like been such a big thing in like my education, like learning, and like so powerful for like just I don't know in every aspect of my life at Scattergood.
Laura and Nick, that might be tough to follow, but I wonder from a parent's perspective, after 4 years of watching Evelyn grow through Scattergood and during that time, what do you see as the benefits of a Scattergood education?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One, I would echo the community piece being such a critical component for Evelyn. As an only child coming in and learning to live with other people, and I see that as something that's really beneficial. When Evelyn heads off to college this fall, I'm not worried about them living with other people. Like the dorm part, that's all something I'm very confident in. And so as we started looking at schools, we could talk about fit. And also Evelyn just having time to sort of look at what schools were of interest to them and do that work to apply to college as part of school was great. I think it'd be the interdisciplinary part of so many of the classes that Evelyn has been a part of. It's not right. It's doing farm work, but also reading and writing and thinking about how those pieces fit together, right? Or advanced bio and reading scientific papers about farm work and being able to see that stuff in practice, I think is so valuable. And I would just also echo really one of the big values too is people caring about Evelyn as a whole person, right? It's not just a place where Evelyn shows up and does calculus, right? Evelyn does calculus, of course, but also has Sonia cares about Evelyn as a human being and making sure that Evelyn is steered in the right way, and gets the supports Evelyn needs. So I think there's so many great things about Scattergood. One thing I just want to make sure we talk about, because we've sort of the food at Scattergood is a big valuable part of the whole thing. You know, as we've gone to a bunch of colleges, and it's not cafeteria food at Scattergood, and it's stuff that these kids have seen from, right. They've maybe planted in the spring and harvested in the fall, and they're eating it throughout the year, and that's really valuable too.
That's so yummy.
I want to echo the food thing. We have wonderful student volunteers here who are right now skipping brunch, and it was very important that we made sure plates were made for them because they were both very disappointed about that.
And you know what? I was able to just call one of my friends who I made at Scattergood, be like, hey guys, can you please make us a plate of foods? And now we get food too.
We have 2 questions left, so now would be a really good time to start typing the questions that you still have into the chat. I want to be respectful of the time our student volunteers have given us. So this self-directed learning promoted at Scattergood. Who's going to take that one?
I'll
Sam?
talk incredibly rapidly
Yeah.
first. Yes, I mean that's like the essence of our educational philosophy is self-directed learning. I'll just say like that happens a lot just in our regular classes. We also have the option of taking independent studies. So if a student has come in already learning French or German or Japanese for a couple years, they could continue doing that language independently, or they could say, you know, I want to do this particular independent PE class instead of the PE classes that are offered, and there's a process for making sure that that's going to be legitimate, and that sort of thing. So yes, lots of self-directed learning. I wonder if either of you guys want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, but it is very self-directed. Like, you can choose so much of what your classes are going to be and what you're interested in once you find it. And I'm gonna be in an independent crafting project and like planting trees for the next 2 months. So because it's just something I was interested in, I get to do that, and that's like a super important part of the educational piece is that you can just do things like that. You can just take these really awesome classes that are super specific into one thing.
I did an independent on playing guitar. I think my sophomore year, and
then you joined a rock band last
then
year.
I joined a rock actually this year.
This year, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're really interested in something, or even if you're just mildly interested in something and you want to become really interested in something, you can do that. And the staff and also our peers just will support you so well in that, and it's awesome.
And you can also do it in a class that you already have. You can if you tell your teacher, hey, I'm really interested in doing this part of this class that we're doing, then the teacher will give you the resources to do that a lot of the time. Especially in project classes and art classes and all those types, especially in those classes.
We had woodworking, and we were making a house for our campus cats basically. And also, I decided to make a tiny couch for the cats. And I also made a swing that I haven't put up yet.
Is a swing in there?
No, like a human swing. Not a cat swing. It was a cat couch, and I upholstered it, guys.
It was very awesome.
It was so
At
cute.
the end, it was so cute.
We had, in our last question, there were some aspects of the program that someone asked us to dive into. I think one component that we haven't maybe gone as far into as we could is the farm.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Elias, I was wondering if you could talk to us a little about what your experience with the farm has been like.
Yeah, so I came to Scattergood for the farm. I was searching for boarding schools with farms, and this is the one that I found, and I'm really glad I found it because the farm is actually the most amazing farm in the area. It's so awesome. It's really small, but it's with the way that it's set up with it feeding the school is that the main farmers can grow stuff to actually feed us and don't have to worry about making a profit off of the vegetables. So they can grow all these things, and there's so many learning opportunities to figure out how to grow these independent little things, and all together. There's there's fruit trees, there's tomatoes, there's peppers, there's squash, there's pumpkins, there's turkeys, and there's like sheep and cows. There's everything.
And then the head farmer will ask us like, hey, what do you guys want me to plant over the summer or over this break? And everyone's like, oh, this and this and this and this, and he's like, okay, this doesn't actually grow here, but we can do this. And
We'll get those oranges somewhere.
yeah,
I think something I just want to highlight is the farm, in addition to being this amazing food source for those of us here on campus, is also this incredible laboratory in which classes are conducting experiments and observing life as it's happening, but also through partnerships with practical farmers of Iowa and colleges in the state, we're conducting experiments in farming here on campus that may have implications far beyond Scattergood someday.
There's Mark, our main farmer, just harvested some spinach that he was overwintering for PFI for an experiment, and it actually tastes really good.
Yeah.
So it's super good.
also like, I'm not the most farm-centric person, but that I still like am learning so much about something that I would probably never have learned about at all if I hadn't come to Scattergood, because it's just not something that's really on my radar, you know? But now I know so much more than I would have about like where my food comes from and how it's harvested and like all this kind of stuff. And also just like getting to mess around with my friends in the farm, or like I'm taking farm team PE next quarter, which is like basically we just help Ben.
It's just farm hand chores, but with your friends.
Right, and it's
great.
awesome. It's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a unique PE program, which you should come and visit and learn a lot more about.
Then there's also
There's
farm. term.
farm term, like right after the week of orientation, there's a month where everybody's in a farm term class in the morning, and there's usually 3 options. And
From like 9 to 12:30.
it's like, and they're like really long, great, like outdoory classes.
They're so fun.
And they're so fun. You choose like a more sciencey one. You can choose a more literature based one. You can choose a more like something John David one.
So, in the interest of time, because
Okay.
I think we could all talk for a long time about any of these aspects, but I think we've got a few questions. Dana, do you want to give us a couple of those questions? We'll give us one to start with.
Yeah.
There's a question about how the dorms are set up. Are they separate or co-ed? Which I think coincides really nicely with another question, which is what are the school's thoughts on LGBTQIA students?
Do you want to take this one?
Yes.
Or, so,
Of course. Okay. So basically, we've got the East Dorm and the West Dorm. So the West Dorm is mostly AMAB people, assigned male at birth people, and the East Dorm is mostly AFAB people, assigned female at birth people. But it's really like just whichever one you feel like most comfortable in. Like I don't think we have at the moment. There are no East Dormers that use she, her pronouns. It's like very, very like to what you're comfortable with. Like I know a lot of people who have like switched from the East Dorm to the West Dorm because they realized that they would feel more comfortable like in the West Dorm. And yeah, and also like LGBTQ, like that's not even a question. Like everyone is LGBT.
Yeah.
the Quaker testimony of equality doesn't put any barriers
Yeah.
on who is an equal, and that is true of our student population, our staff, our parent body as well. Our community doesn't discriminate on any of those.
We like counted it the other day, and I think there are 7 cis students and 6 straight students. So do with that information what you will.
Everybody is like welcome here.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
If you want to learn more about what that kind of a culture feels like to experience firsthand, I'd suggest getting your application in and signing up for a visit day where you can come and spend a night in the dorms and experience this community firsthand. Let's do another question.
Do you want to just really quick touch on like what our Quaker population is here versus what non-secular?
Sure, it would be hard for me to quantify it because there are some folks who would identify as Quaker but might not be a member of a meeting, or they don't identify as a religious person, but if you asked them to, they might say, well, I guess Quaker. I think, I don't know, maybe a fifth of our population in total, staff and students, would identify as Quaker. I think a lot of folks incorporate those Quaker values and practices into their lives through their time at Scattergood without necessarily becoming convinced or converted, as you might say in another denomination.
Really quickly, we've just got a couple of minutes left here. Is it okay for a student to come in 11th grade?
Yes.
And what is the size of each class?
It varies so much.
It varies year by year.
Yeah,
Like,
I can talk about that.
Yeah.
So I should say also that I, along with academic dean, my role is also, I'm part of the admissions team that does high school. So Jamie mentioned that I'd be the person you might be talking to if you wanted to set up a phone call or a video chat. So, you know, we basically right now in our 9th through 12th grade classes, they range in the, you know, like 6 to 10, 8 to 12 students per class, kind of in there. I'd say historically over the last 20 years, you know, I'm a graduating class with 19, but that was pretty big. So, yeah.
Any further questions?
Just one on international students. How many do we currently have and where are they from? We've got just 1 minute left.
We've got 3 international students. One is from, well, depending how we count you. One is from Germany, one is from China, and then Fifi's from Maryland / Costa Rica. You're not really an international
I'm
student.
not really.
So
an
we,
international
we would love to have more international students. We have in the past, and we're working pretty hard to get more international students in the future too.
Next year we have one from France that we
Already.
have joining
And
us,
Afghanistan.
and Afghanistan. Yeah.
Oh!
Any final questions? We have this amazing video. First off, I'd just like to say thank you to Dana, our marketing coordinator, a Scattergood alum, who put together this fantastic overview video of our campus and our program, which due to technical difficulties, I don't think many of you got to see.
You should see it.
We're
Elias
gonna-
and I are in it.
Yeah, we're gonna follow up
That's a
with an email later this weekend or Monday morning where we share that link with you. I highly encourage you, take a look at that video. It's well worth the 5 or 6 minutes it takes. And if you've been inspired to learn more by your time with us today, we hope you will do so. You can reach out to Jamie, you can reach out to Sam, or any of us sitting around this table.
Inquiry form.
Yeah. Yeah, and go onto our website and fill out that inquiry form or that application, and let us know that you'd like to be in contact, and we will do that. Thanks again to the Burgesses for joining us online. Thank you to our students who sacrificed their Saturday brunch to be here. And thank you to my colleagues who joined us this morning to answer your questions. We hope that you will come visit us here in Iowa soon. Until then, have a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.